I mean, it's a mess, isn't it?
Is there anything more childish?
I mean, how many times are we going to see players and clubs fall out over these gentlemen's agreements? How about you just wake up as a professional footballer?
Go, no, you've got a contract with us. Like, you stay and play.
Brentford, for me, are in real danger.
Hello and welcome to Transfers Exposed. I'm Will Pugh. That right next to me is football broadcaster Harry Symeou. Harry, great to see you again, mate. Wonderful to have you back in the studio.
Great to be back, mate. Thanks for having me. Remember, this is your exclusive press pass to the hottest transfer stories straight from the Sunsport newsroom.
Absolutely it is, mate. We are here with you every Tuesday and Friday until the transfer window slams shut on September the 1st, breaking down all the key facts and figures behind the biggest news and rumours in the transfer window.
And on this video, we're going to bring you an update on the situation at Newcastle. We're going to talk Yoane Wissa and how all of that stuff is connected.
Yeah, to Alexander Isak, of course. Back page of the Sun, Gary Stonehouse, our man up north. Wissa does an Isak. Yoane Wissa has gone on strike at Brentford. He's told them he's never going to play from them again. As Gary writes here, Yoane Wissa's relationship with Brentford is turning toxic as he tries to force through a move to Newcastle. This one I've been rumbling on for a while. Toys thrown by B's star. It's all getting a little bit messy with involving Newcastle this summer, Harry, is it not? With Alexander Isak, of course, doing a very similar thing. 28 years of age, Yoane Wissa, he left their pre-season training camp in Portugal, came back and had talks with boss Keith Andrews and was sort of integrated back into training, but he missed their opening day defeat, 3-1 at Nottingham Forest. Bryan Mbeumo's obviously gone as well. Brentford, kind of understandably, a little bit hesitant to let Wissa go as well, particularly for, you know, if it's not for the right money. He's got a year left on his deal. Brentford now sort of in the position they're only going to sell him if they can sign a replacement. But they want £50 million for Wissa. Newcastle have already had a £30 million bid rejected. Expected to launch another bid of £35 million this week. What do you make of it all?
I mean, it's a mess, isn't it? It's a mess. I can understand why, if you're Brentford, you don't want to sell him, first and foremost. I can understand why you don't want to sell him on the cheap.
Yeah, totally.
You know, they've lost a lot of players, and Brentford, for me, are in real danger of relegation this season. They've got an unproven manager.
Yeah.
I'm not going to write Keith Andrews off,
No,
but
of course.
you know, he hasn't got that back catalogue of work to suggest that Brentford fans should be confident he's going to keep them up. They've lost their manager, they've lost Mbeumo, they've lost Norgard, who was their captain, and they stand to lose Yoane Wissa, who is also one of their standout players. So I get where Brentford are coming from, but we keep hearing these stories like, you know, promises were made, this was said, that was said, and Brentford never sort of stuck to the agreement or their end of the bargain, and that's supposedly why Yoane Wissa has sort of fallen out with them and feels the way he does. But I mean, how many times are we going to see players and clubs fall out over these gentlemen's agreements? How about you just wake up as a professional footballer and your agent wake up and understand that nothing is ever concrete that is based around a gentleman's agreement. Like,
couldn't agree
what are
more.
we doing?
These are multi-million pound contracts, aren't they? They're gone are the days when, you know, Barry Fry and Harry Redknapp were doing handshakes in the boardroom and Brian Clough and a man was as good as his word and all that sort of stuff. These are totally different times, aren't they? Football these days, as you'll hear lots of the time, is run by lawyers, depending who you listen to. You know, understandably, these are multi-million pound deals. There's got to be an element of trust, right, within any sort of industry or any like working environment. But I couldn't agree with you more, right? I think it's totally. But we're seeing the same thing with Isak, aren't we? Where he was promised a new deal at Newcastle by the previous owners, Staveley and Guendouzi. Paul Mitchell comes in. He's delivered, or he's sort of served up a bit of an horrible tasting sandwich from a PSR perspective at Newcastle. Had to make some tough decisions, and then was sort of left no choice other than to renege on that promise made by the previous ownership of a new deal for Isak. Left him on 130 grand a week, which obviously I'm sure he can get by, but given his contribution last season, that's not the going rate. So Isak also sort of feels quite aggrieved about that. They've then offered him a 300 grand one this summer when it looks like he wants to go, but he sort of feels it's too late now.
This is the thing, though. If you're a player that has had this agreement and this conversation with your football club, and both of you at the time are true to your word, then why not put it down on paper? Why not sign something that says, because Yoane Wissa claims, from what I've read, that he was told that he could leave the club for 30 million if it was a Premier League club and 40 million if it was a Saudi club.
Right.
That's what I've read. I don't know how accurate that is. But if that was the case and that was the agreement in place, no problem, Mr. Chairman. Let's get that down on paper.
Yeah.
And then we're all covered and everything's good. And there's no risk of the relationship breaking down and there's no mistrust because we're all singing from the same page, literally.
Yeah.
Instead, you've got players going, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, let's do that. And then the club going, yeah, that's fine. Surely the club don't want these situations either. Surely they don't want their best players being unhappy. It should all be done on paper. And people that are sort of allowing themselves to fall in these traps, we've seen it with Harry Kane in the past, where he initially didn't come back to training for Tottenham because he was told supposedly he could leave. Get it on paper. Don't take any risks. And then everyone gets what they want and everyone's happy.
Yeah, but the thing is, Harry, I couldn't agree with you more as well. And these clauses do exist currently in players' contracts. You know, we report a lot on Transfers Exposed and you know, in the paper online about players' release clauses, right? They obviously, we saw the Morgan Gibbs-White one earlier where Marinakis was absolutely fuming that someone had leaked it. These things are common knowledge. And like, you know, agents, players, they all talk. When they sign the deal, the player will let it be known, as will agents, what the release clause is. So buying clubs know it happens in football, right? But these aren't always as simple as they're sold, these release clauses. Often they're very complex, complicated. I think we saw one with Amari Hutchinson earlier this window, where I can't remember the club now off the top of my head. It might have been Brentford actually, who thought they'd hit the clause, they'd hit the value of the clause by the deadline that was in the contract, but the structure of the deal didn't hit all of the requirements of the clause. These are complex things, and exactly as you say, you can write that in a contract that says and you can even re-sign a new contract. It could be on the same terms, but if that agreement's made, you go, right, we're not going to announce that you signed a new deal, but if you want that in, we're agreeing that now, we'll get that in now.
Yeah, it's just a modification to the existing deal.
Exactly. That says if we get an offer of X from a Saudi club, you can go. If we get an offer of X, and you can put timeframes on it, I totally agree. While we're in a ranting mood, Harry, Yoane Wissa has deleted 28-year-old grown man Yoane Wissa has deleted all Brentford mentions and pictures off his social media. Is there anything more childish?
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous, isn't it? It's like a bad breakup where you go through Instagram and delete all your pictures with your ex. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, at the end of the day, yes, Yoane Wissa's frustrated. Yes, he feels like Brentford have gone back on their word on something, right? But ultimately, would he even be in the frame for a move to a club the size of Newcastle United if Brentford hadn't taken a gamble and a risk on him and rolled the dice on him? So
if Thomas Frank hadn't developed him into the player he is now.
Exactly. It's all so childish and so ridiculous. And this idea that deleting your social media posts is going to make Brentford go, do you know what? Actually, we can let you go for that money. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, because we're so hurt by the fact that you deleted those. It's ridiculous.
Honestly, he's a 28-year-old man. A 28. Can you just imagine, like me going into work tomorrow, if like don't get pay rise I've been promised, and go up to Sean Custis, my boss, and go, right, Sean, you're going to be absolutely gutted. I'm sorry it's come to this. But I've actually deleted all mentions of the Sun off of my social media. So, you know, I know that's a huge blow, and I'm sure that will make you rethink. It's like, what does that do? I just think it just seems so childish for a man who's nearly 30.
Yeah, it's a nonsense, and it isn't going to make the slightest bit of difference in terms of these negotiations and in terms of his prospects of leaving. All it does is make him look like a child.
It's petulant and silly.
And also as well, like, and this can be said for Alexander Isak as well. Yeah, you've got your heart set on a move and you want it to happen and you want it to materialise. But if you come across badly, then that doesn't bode well for you.
No.
Like, I would imagine, like, if we take it to Isak just for a minute, that if you're Liverpool Football Club, of course you want the player, and I'm not suggesting that you wouldn't want the player because he's sort of digging his heels in. Maybe you'd go, well, that means he really wants us, make you even more keen.
Yeah.
But some people, like, I'm sure if you spoke to Liverpool fans, there'll be a lot that go, actually, the fact that he's doing this, it's not ideal, it's not great, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
because it goes beyond what is seen as reasonable and acceptable.
Yeah, it's funny, Harry. I tend to almost always, with these things, fall down on the players' side of things rather than the clubs, as far as my sympathies go, right? Because I think these are young guys who've worked their absolute socks off their entire career to be the very best at what they do. It takes untold amounts of dedication. And I go, you know what? You've put the work in. No one else has. Obviously, they get support and help. But ultimately, it's them who turn up to training every day. It's them who do the running. It's them who do the, all the training and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, take advantage of it from a financial perspective. These clubs are owned by multi-billionaires, particularly in the Premier League. Like, and they get rich off of the back of players' efforts, right? Without players, the Premier League is nothing. Like, no one needs sporting directors and owners and billionaire
That's
oil
not what
barons.
you buy a ticket for, is it?
Of course not, mate. It's for these guys here. So I always fall down on the side of the player. Deleting your Instagram things as a grown-up is absolutely pathetic, and I'm just not having it. It just makes no one goes, oh, but it leaves a sour taste in your mouth as well. Because it's like the Brentford, all your great memories at Brentford don't matter anymore. The last-minute winners, the goals that really meant something to fans, who have always would think a lot of you, even if you left this window. What does it? It doesn't do anything for serious people at the top of clubs. What sort of actual chief executive? These are serious operators, is going to look at that and his Instagram and think anything other than, oh my God, how childish.
Yeah,
anyway.
absolutely.
Right, is there a bit of hypocrisy, Harry, if Newcastle sign him, given the quite understandable reaction and the quotes and the public statements that have come out of the club, as well as some of the back channel briefings, that they're about how they feel about how Alexander Isak has conducted himself, because he's basically done the exact same thing. So have Newcastle got a leg to stand on if they then snap up Wissa?
Well, hypocrisy exists in football because of the tribalism, and you're never, ever, ever going to get rid of the hypocrisy in football. Nor do I want to see us get rid of it, to be honest with you, because it's part of what makes the game special.
Yep.
Tribalism, unfortunately... Look, fortunately, it's great because it brings a lot to the game. It brings rivalry, it brings excitement, it brings passion. But there are some things that, unfortunately, tribalism masks. This is a classic case of that. I think tribalism masks bad refereeing decisions because, if it's in a game between our two clubs and it goes your club's way, you're not going to moan about it, and vice versa. I'm not going to moan if it goes my team's way. So
I don't think it's a good idea to get into Arsenal fans and their treatment of referees.
The point is that if you're tribal, which football fans are,
yeah,
you will let certain things slide if they work out for you, and you will be up in arms about other things if they don't go your way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with this case. A Newcastle fan will probably flip it on you and say, well, Alexander Isak's doing it to us, so why is it a problem that Yoane Wissa's doing it?
But then you can what about it goes forever.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You can't eradicate that. That'll always be a part of football. So I'm not going to blame Newcastle fans if they're being hypocrites in this sense. And equally, I wouldn't blame Brentford fans the other way around. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I suppose, mate. Yeah. Brentford signed Dango Atara from Bournemouth, of course, for $42.5 million. But they see him as the Mbumo replacement. Their stance on Wissa at the moment is, look, happy to sanction a sale if the money's right and we sign a replacement, which seems to leave us in this weird position where Alexander Isak's move to Liverpool now appears to rest on whether Brentford can sign a forward.
Yeah, it's just a massive merry-go-round, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why I think the last couple of weeks of this transfer window are going to be really, really interesting, because there's a domino effect in so many cases and so many situations. Alexander Isak, will he go? Will he not? I've got a feeling that there will be a late push again from Liverpool, and I think they're hoping that they can get the best possible deal. Newcastle might be sort of backs against the wall by that point in the window if he continues to refuse to participate. So I wouldn't shut the door on any of these deals happening in the last stages.
I quite agree. Hugo Ekitike, though, great debut. He looks absolutely mustard. And he's cut from a very similar cloth as Isak, of course. So I would actually, like I was saying earlier, although I fall down on the player's side most of the time, I would actually quite like Newcastle to dig their heels in and make a statement here and go, no, you've got a contract with us, like, you stay and play if it doesn't work for the club. That's certainly what the Newcastle fans will want. They want what's best for their club on the pitch. And of course, Newcastle, we've made a bit of a mess of this transfer window, signed Jacob Ramsey for £40 million from Aston Villa. Just signed off a bit of a show off because we told you that was going to happen more than a month ago. Thank you very much for watching and listening to this episode of Transfers Exposed. As Harry just said, it's set to be a really exciting end to this transfer window with loads of deals, no doubt going to get over the line. So make sure you are tuning in to Transfers Exposed every Tuesday and Friday, and make sure you're subscribed to the Sunsport YouTube channel so you never miss an episode.